new topic on supervised learning. This is topic 6 for this course. So in this topic, we will cover supervised learning, which is part of one type of machine learning. So one main features of supervised learning is it require a label from the training data, and then from that it able to make prediction and take action. So for supervised algorithm, it is provided with the input data and with the corresponding output label for each input data. So the aim is to learn a mapping function that should be able to generalize the label example accurately to predict the unseen input. So from the training data, it learn the pattern from the data, but the input data require need label. Each input data must be labeled. So by learning from this training data, the supervised learning algorithm will be used to predict the new input or unseen input, meaning an input that has not been seen before by the model or the algorithm. So supervised learning algorithm, it involves several stages. One is the collection of data, and then followed by the pre-processing, and then what kind of model that are suitable for the problem, and followed by the process of extracting the features from the data, and then conduct a training, evaluate the accuracy of the model based on the training, and then lastly to do the prediction. So there are many supervised learning algorithm that are available that can be used for to make prediction. For example, we have KNN, SVM, support vector machine. We have decision tree, linear regression, logistic regression, random forest, and there are many other algorithms available, but this is some of the more popular algorithm, classic supervised learning algorithm. Each algorithm has their own strength and weakness. So how to choose depend on the character of the problem and the data. So it can be used for image classification, sentiment analysis, for spam detection, fraud detection, and many more. So in robotics, for example, it can be used to assess the robot to do image classification, image recognition, and so on. So you can integrate this supervised algorithm for robotics project. So in the first stage, which is collecting data, this phase involve collecting a data set consisting of input, sample, and their corresponding label. That means each row of input must have their corresponding label. So the things that need to be considered is to make sure the quantity and quality of data is sufficient. Data annotation is very important, but this the one that require consume most of the time. And then data splitting. So this is the stage where from the data you have to split it into three set. The training set, validation set, and the testing set. So during the training, you will use the training set to do the training, and you have another set to do the validation, and you have the testing set to evaluate the accuracy of the model. And then followed by data pre-processing. So this is where you can clean the data. For example, if there are missing data, so how to handle the missing data, and sometimes there are noise, outlier, so how to remove this, and sometimes the data require normalization, scaling, and also transformation and dimensionality reduction. And this is where if there are the dimension of the data is very high, then it should be reduced. Sometimes duplicate or irrelevant information are also included in the data set. So during pre-processing, it involves the process of reducing the number of features that will be included during the training. So the effect is to make sure the training is can be conducted faster, quicker compared to including all the data, even though some of the information are redundant or not relevant to the problem. Model selection. So this is where you because you have many algorithms available, then you need to select the correct option, correct choice of model. But it depends on the domain, depends on the type of data and the output required from the problem. Again, it is depending on the size of data set, number of features, and dimension of the data. Feature extraction. This is where you process try to get the most relevant data, to be included during the training process. So this require knowledge of the problem domain to accurately identify which features is the most relevant data to be included during the data training. There are many feature extraction techniques that can be applied. For example, PCA, LDA. So these are the learning, the feature or the technique that can be used to extract the most relevant features from the data. So by adapting this technique, you don't have to do the manually. You don't have to do a manual feature extraction. So it can be done using a systematic technique. And the training. So this is where the training will perform on the data, but here is the list that need to be considered. For example, what are the loss function, what are the optimization algorithm that can be applied during the training, backpropagation technique, even the parameter tuning. So also the validation, how to validate the result after the training. Evaluation. This is where it involves the how accurate, how good is the model. So you can perform a cross validation and to make sure overfitting and underfitting is avoided during the training. And then the last one is the prediction. So based on the new input, you can evaluate how good is the model. Okay, let's start with the first algorithm. We call it KNN. So it is based on classifying the data based on their similarity using distance between points. Okay. So KNN can be used for classification and also for regression. So you can use for classification and also for regression. It is based on measuring the similarity between data based on the distance. So distance metric can be based on Euclidean distance, Manhattan distance, or cosine similarity. So for example here you have two group of data. One is in blue color and one is in green color. So if you plot the data in X and Y here, considering the data consists of two-dimension data, X value and X1 and X2 values. So in here, for example, you have one group in blue color and one group in green color. So let's say you have a new data point. For example, in this figure, you have orange data. So the problem is how to classify this data, this new data. Is it in category B or is it in category A? So in KNN, the distance will be measured between the new data point and to the existing points in category B and category A. So again, the distance metric that can be used is either Euclidean distance, Manhattan distance, or cosine. So if it is close to in group A, then the new data will be classified as category A. If it is closer to category B, then it is considered belongs to category B. So that is KNN, a simple algorithm. So the classification is based on distance measurement, distance metrics. So the advantage is it is simple to understand and easy to implement. It can be used to for multi-class classification and also regression problem. There is no specific assumption on the underlying data, and of course it can be used to adapt. If there are new training data available, then it can be added without retraining the entire model. The cons, it require big amount of computation time if the data set is quite large. Distance metric is required. you need to careful selection of decision matrix, and it is sensitive to noise. So the second one is SVM, support vector machine. So this one is based on what we call hyperplane. We use hyperplane to separate data point to classify the data using what we call a hyperplane. For example, in this figure, so we have the hyperplane, the maximum, we call it the maximum hyperplane. That is the linear line that separate the two group of data. So we have a group data in group blue color and data in green color. So any data that below this line is considered, if there is new data that fall below this solid line, so it belongs to the green group. Then if it is to the right side of the this hyperplane, then it is considered belong to the blue team. So the support vector, this is the green color, and the green dot here is called a support vector, because this is the data that very close to the negative hyperplane, and then we have the positive hyperplane. So we have what we call maximum margin. This is the distance between the solid line and the dashed line. So we have support vector here, the blue here, which is the closest point to the positive hyperplane. So this is the illustrate the classification of two group of data for data that consists of two features, x1 and x2. To calculate to decide the maximum hyperplane, for this one, and this is a linear hyperplane, this is easy, then you can use linear. If there are for multi-class classification, then non-linear function can be used. For example, polynomial, RBF, and sigmoid. Okay, the pros and cons of SVM. The pro, it is effective in high dimensional space. It can handle complex data. Good generalization performance. It should be able to classify linear and non-linear data. If large data set, it require expensive computational time. Sensitive to choice of kernel and parameter. To describe what happened in the background is quite challenging. But it is a very similar to KNN in terms of easy implementation and easy to understand. Now, when you compare KNN and SVM, with regard to computational complexity, KNN is considered require low training complexity. So processing during training is minimal compared to SVM. Training time for SVM is much longer, especially when it involves a large data set. However, once trained, SVM is very fast to come with the inference. KNN, however, require higher inference time compared to SVM. During training, KNN is faster, but during inference, SVM is faster. Resource availability. KNN is better where if training time is less critical. SVM is preferred if during training time, longer training time is not important, but inference time, faster inference time is required, then SVM is better. Therefore, SVM is more suitable for cloud-based training, where low power robotics with low power robotics application. Whereas for KNN, it is better for robot that if you want to allow the robot to process the data on the spot. In terms of data set, KNN perform well in smaller data set, whereas SVM considered more efficient when it involves a larger data set. In terms of data dimensionality, high dimensional data, SVM handle better compared to KNN. Linearity, KNN assume the data is linear, but again it depends on the distance metric. For non-linear data, SVM is better. That means for non-linear data, SVM most of the time SVM can handle better. In terms of task complexity, KNN can be used for simple classification. For more complex tasks, SVM is much better. So SVM can be used for object recognition, speech recognition, and also analyzing sensor data. Whereas KNN is works better for simple classification. That means when the robot require quick decision, then you can use KNN. In terms of accuracy and precision, KNN require careful tuning. For example, you need to specify the number of neighbor and careful distance metric. SVM can also offer a good accuracy, provided that especially in binary classification task. So both can handle and produce good accuracy depending on the availability of training data. Okay, decision tree. So we have covered two, the KNN and SVM. The decision tree is also a very simple algorithm. It can be used for classification and also for regression. It can handle missing data. So this is one of the main advantage of decision tree. It works like this. For example, you have the decision node, and then you have the decision, you have the branch and the leaf. So very normally decision tree is a binary decision tree. Of course, it can be used for regression and also for classification. Yeah, decision tree is easy to understand, easy to interpret. It can be used to categorize or uh, to handle continuous features. It can also handle non-linear data. But the cons, it is easy to overfit. So you need to apply pruning. Any small variation in data can lead to different tree structure. So because of that, it may not generalize well for unseen data. And constructing a large decision tree is very expensive. Random forest. So this is the tree, the three learning algorithm that we have covered before. The KNN, SVM, and decision are considered classical machine learning, classical machine learning algorithm. So random forest fall under the category of ensemble learning method. So this one actually apply the combination of multiple decision tree to make prediction. Similar to decision tree, but this one is a combination of many decision tree, random forest. Yes, it can also use for either classification or regression. Ensemble learning. On the left side is the single decision tree. So random forest is on the right side. So you have multiple tree to do the classification, for example, or to do the prediction. So for example, here you have tree 1. Let's say you have this classification of this. So you have this data. So you use many tree to classify the data. So one tree classify this input as class A. The second also classify the class A, and then the third one also classify, but the third one classify the class B. Now you have three here to classify the same input. So you can apply majority voting to come up with the final prediction, which is if you apply majority voting here, then that means it should fall under the class A. So that's the difference between random forest and decision tree. So where in the decision tree it rely on a single decision tree, whereas for random forest it rely on many decision tree to do the classification. So in terms of pros, it is considered much better than decision tree. So it is less prone to overfitting because you have many decision tree. So the averaging effect will reduce the overfitting. It can handle high dimensional data and large data set. The cons, it may be computationally expensive compared to a single decision tree, which is a very simple one, very fast, and it require hyperparameter tuning to get the best model of random forest, and this process can be time consuming if you want to optimize the performance of the random forest model. Okay, the next one is multi-layer perception. So this classifier is a type of neural network, artificial neural network. Okay, multi-layer perceptron. As you can see in the figure, it consists of three type of layer. The first layer is input layer, and the last layer is output layer, and in between you have the hidden layer. So this is what we call artificial neural network. So multi-layer perceptron is you call it multi-layer because of it involves several layers. Minimum at least 3 layers. And then perceptron is the each node in the layer is called perceptron. So you have the input layer, and then you have the output layer, and in between you have at least one hidden layer. At least one hidden layer, but normally at least two hidden layers. The number of hidden layer may be double from the input layer. Normally you have more number of hidden nodes compared to input layer. For example, if you have 10 nodes in the input layer, you could have 100 nodes in the hidden layer and another 100 in the second hidden layer. That is the normal architecture of multi-layer perceptron. Fault propagation means the data can only flow in one direction, which is going forward. It rely on what we call activation function. So in order to calculate the value here, you can apply the activation function that involve the sum of the value of the input and the weightage of the edge here. So each edge will have their weight values. Based on that, you can apply several options of activation function. You can apply either sigmoid function, hyperbolic, or ReLU. So multi-layer perception, it involves a training that apply backpropagation. So during the training, the network weight is adjusted. So the aim is to minimize the loss function. So multiple iteration is also called epoch. So this process is repeated until the stopping criterion is satisfied. During the training, you can do several parameter tuning. For example, the number of hidden layer, how many number of node in the each layer, the learning rate, the activation function. All these are hyperparameter tuning. So you can apply grid search or random search to do the parameter tuning. That is the option other than manual tuning. Systematic tuning can be done using grid search or random search. Pro and con of MLP. Yes, the main advantage of MLP is it can learn complex pattern. Then it can also be used for classification and also for regression. The cons, again, overfitting. Overfitting is very common in MLP. That means it is good. Overfitting means it is good during training but very poor during the testing, during the actual evaluation, actual testing, actual prediction when predicting a new data. Training MLP is normally expensive. It requires longer training time compared to classical machine learning algorithm. So that means hyperparameter tuning is very important to achieve optimum performance. Okay, in addition to MLP, multi-layer perceptron, Another type of neural network is CNN, convolutional neural network. So this is a very advanced neural network type that we call it CNN. It involves many layers. Unlike multi-layer perceptron, where each layer is very simple, it's simply a list of nodes. So in CNN, each layer is can be of different type of layer. For example, you have the input layer, and then the last layer is the same with the MLP. We have the input layer and also the output layer, but in between, instead of having the layer, we have the different type of layer. So for example, here we have the convolutional layer. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 convolutional layer, and then we have the flatten layer before the output layer. So in the convolutional layer, we instead of simply performing sigmoid function activation function, so in a convolutional layer, this layer involve different process. For example, max pooling, and many other options, average pooling, and so on. So that operation can be done in the convolutional layer. So this is very different in from the MLP. For example, over here, you have the option to do the padding as well. Padding means, for example, if the filter is 3 times 3, so the first padding, the first filter should be okay. The second filter, because you don't have the enough column, so you can add additional padding. So what you can do is for 5 times 5, you add additional padding by assigning 0 to the boundary of the filter, so that you can do proper slicing. So the first 3 times 3 here, and then another the second one is here, and then this is the third one, and then the fourth one, and the last one. So in this case, you can do proper filtering by applying a padding. Pooling layer. So this is where you can perform a pooling. So what is pooling layer? For example, here you have this filter, kernel filter of 4 times 4. So you want to reduce this dimension into 4 cells, 16 cells to 4 cells. So what you can do is to do the max pooling. For example, here from this 4 blue cell, the max number is 9. So this 9 will be chosen as the cell to be carried in the reduce filter. So in here, in the green, you have 7, and then for the block of yellow cell, 8 is the maximum number. So you get 8 here, and the last one, 6 is chosen. So from 16, now you reduce the filter into, the kernel into 4. So this is what happened in here. From bigger filter here, you reduce it into 12 by 12, and reduce it again into 8 to 8, and reduce it again into 4. So by using max pooling based on 2 times 2. So max pooling can be done using a different filter size. It can be 3 times 3, 4 times 2, but the common method is to use 2 times 2. Now again, similar to MLP, you need to apply activation function in the last layer here. Activation function can be applied for the last layer here, between the connected layer and the output layer. So you can apply activation function. So the common activation function for CNN is ReLU, sigmoid, and also 10H function. Okay? So this illustration of the several activation function that can be applied in the last layer. A fully connected layer is the last one here, this one. All this will be flattened, converted into this one, into single layer, a flattened layer. We call it flattened layer instead of a 2D layer here. We flatten it into 1D layer. So this is the flattening before the output layer. So it works very similar to MLP, but this one is more powerful because as you can see here, the input layer, for example, if the input is in 2D images, because image data is naturally is in a 2D data, so it is naturally a mesh, the pattern of CNN that require 2D kernel. So CNN is very good in doing image classification and any data that involve images. Okay, in CNN also it also support transfer learning, and that means if you train the data, for example, you have a CNN model that you already trained to classify, for example, to classify a vehicle, for example, and then you want to create the in another CNN to classify a commercial vehicle, for example. Since the two model are very similar, you can transfer the learning experience from the model that you have trained before to the new model. So that is transfer learning. So the advantage is the training time will be much shorter. The pro and cons of CNN. Main advantage of CNN is feature extraction is not required, because you can feed the raw data into the model, so you don't have to do feature extraction, unlike traditional machine learning method such as KNN, SVM, and decision tree. You need to do feature extraction, whereas in CNN you don't have to do that. So it is also robust to translation, rotation, and scaling, and that means if the image is rotated or scale up or scale down, CNN is can handle that. Cons, the training time is intensive, depending on the number of how big is the data, and since it require label data, then if you have very large data, then the uptime required to do the annotation is significant. Okay. And it is very difficult to understand how the CNN works. Unlike KNN and SVM, it's easy to understand, but to interpret the output of CNN is difficult. So in summary, supervised learning require several stages. The first one is data collection, data pre-processing, model selection, feature extraction, training, evaluation, prediction, and iteration. But depending on the type of algorithm, if you choose CNN, for example, you don't have to do the feature extraction. So data pre-processing and feature extraction can be skipped for CNN. Supervised learning is widely used in domains such as image recognition. It is also widely used in natural language processing, fraud detection, and many other recommendation system. So it is a very powerful tool, not only in traditional machine learning problem. It can also apply for robotics application, especially when the data involve image data, video, or even sound data.